It's a difficult enough thing to be a woman in this world and exist proudly in your body, especially as being a trans woman. There's so many layers of shame and being born in the wrong body, this disassociation from the body and this rejection of the body. We're born into bodies that we're told we should feel shame about, that we should feel are never good enough and are never perfect enough and never slim enough and never beautiful enough. And if I try to go on to, say, dating websites, that can be really exposing in relation to the fact that people completely pull apart me and sexuality and desirability because of HIV and because of my transness. That my body can't be a body that is HIV positive and is trans and is also sexy and sexual or desirable. It can't be those things. Undetectable is untransmittable, is medicalised language which talks about the history of AIDS and HIV, and actually it talks about this kind of panic moment which people felt they couldn't control and contain this virus. You know, if we make the virus in your bloodstream undetectable, then there's not enough of it to pass on. 20, 30 years ago, we were told it was this toxic thing that no one could control. That's why there would be headlines that would say, ship them off to an island and let them die, or keep them away from everyone. And don't have sex with them, stay away from them, watch the toothbrush and watch the cup that they drink out of. Make sure that if they cut themselves open that there's a cordon around them of 100 yards. So there was this notion that we had dangerous blood. What U equals U does is turns that on its head. It says we have a manageable condition. The phrase U equals U can never just be U equals U. If I go onto Tinder and say to somebody, I'm undetectable, they're not instantly going to have an understanding of what I'm talking about. So what I then need to do is to follow that up by revealing that I'm HIV positive. Or do I? But if I'm going to introduce U equals U, then I do need to tell them, because it will make no sense to them. Then it's this thing that I've got to have a conversation. I'm a trans woman living with HIV, so I've then got to dispel all the myths. And then I've got to own up to some myths, because yes, I was engaged in sex work. So I've got to own that, and then I've got to try and contextualise that in relation to my life now. And we know that a woman saying, I'm undetectable, trust me, in a face-to-face situation, it can be a risky thing. We know the incidence of intimate partner violence and coercion in relation to women living with HIV, and how it can become another stick to beat us with, to control us with and coerce us with. In some sense, it's really trying to find a balance about owning and being able to access the words U equals U, or the words undetectable equals untransmittable. We can't demonise the very stuff that sometimes has made us be the people that we are. I'm not willing to put that in a box, say that that's my immoral past. You know, I got a virus because it got into my bloodstream. It was as simple as going on holiday and a mosquito biting you and you getting malaria. I didn't think that I was ever worthy of beauty. I didn't think that I would ever be capable of creating and owning beauty. If I go back 20 years, 25 years in my life, I was a sex worker, an HIV positive sex worker, an HIV positive trans sex worker, who people would look at on the street as if I was worthless. But I never really saw it like that. I just saw that I was doing what I needed to do to try and survive, but also to try and do good, to try and drag myself up continually. But like I always was on this quest to create beauty around me. So for me to actually have this space that I've owned and crafted, and it's just a tiny sliver of space in the middle of nowhere, but it's safety to me and it's security. It really is everything that I didn't think I could manifest, I've manifested. So often we're told that it will be a man or it will be another person that will complete us. And in a way, we are there very much to serve or service other people and to care for other people, to look after other people, to make sure in relation to sex somebody else is coming before you do. And I feel like it's probably one of the greatest feats of my life that I've got to a place where I recognize that my pleasure can be centered and it's important, it's valid. The history of HIV and AIDS has been the history of men and men's sexuality. You know, you can't escape the fact that men control the narratives, all narratives. So if you look at most campaigns historically, for you equals you, most safe sex campaigns have been directed at men and they seldom featured women. It's very difficult for there to be a narrative around what you equals you means for women, because women often don't have the money to create their own campaigns. We might be offered a seat at the table to put our point of view forward, and we might become a face on the poster, but is it women creating a set of posters that really speak to women about being undetectable? We just don't own the narrative. The message that I would like to see out there for women is you own your body. Whether that body contain HIV or not contain HIV, you own that body. You have every right to take risks, to not take risks. You know, you have every right to all the same stuff that everybody else has, that men have. What I would want women to know is, you know, as many words as they want to say are enough, or as much information as they want to give is enough. And you are fabulous. All I know is that the combination of my writing, my words, the world that I create when I write, and the world that I live in, my home, my house, and how I can be sexual in this space, the kind of freedom I feel from being outside and self-pleasuring and feeling my body naked in the elements with the sun coming down on my body, that sense where there's no words, where there's no interference, where there's no labels, where there's no stuff becoming in between. It's about a purity that I feel like both HIV and transness, a lot of that stuff has come in and been words between me and the world. Not having to strive to be good enough or to be any different than I am. Partially you equals you is saying to people, I'm clean, be intimate with me, show me intimacy, I can't harm you. And in a way there's a part of me that wants to scream and say, you know, HIV made me fabulous. HIV made me a fucking great writer. What has it done for you?